everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kick and Make Up Show. I'm the American Hybrid Nick Cunningham. With me, as always, Jeremy J.D. Dorsey, and we have a show today.
Yes, we do.
As promised.
Yes.
As promised, we said that we were going to come back here today, November 4th, which is voting day, so happy voting day to everybody.
Right.
We have nothing to talk about votes except wishing you a happy vote day. We said we were going to come today and talk about Invicta FC 9, and we were going to have a ton of content. We were going to get a ton of interviews, get a ton of pictures, all that, and we succeeded. We succeeded at Invicta FC 9.
Yeah, definitely. Scored some really nice interviews. First of all, I want to give a big thank you to Shannon, Knapp for allowing us to run crazy around there and grab interviews and take pictures and tweet out everything. And, I just had a blast. It was the first event that I've been at where I was actually actively involved in Twitter. So, it was, tweeting things out as it went. You had had people responding. Big thank you to all the new followers we have. Jesus, we gained so many new followers over the past week. It's ridiculous. I was gonna try to name them, but I looked at the list and then I realized it'd take probably a little bit too long to name everyone. But you know who you are. We'll be sure to put out a thank you on Twitter tonight when we post the show. But yeah, it was an incredible show from top to bottom. So much good things to talk about, and we're definitely going to touch on that real soon.
Yes, we are. We're going to touch on that. That is obviously our high kick for the week. But before we get to that, we're going to break down how our show works and get the particulars out of the way. This is the Kick and Make Up Show. Nick Cunningham, Jeremy Dorsey. You can go to our website, www.kickandmakeup.com. Get all the content from this past weekend, all the content from the past, couple years now, I think, that we've been doing this. Everything that we've done at different shows, all the pictures we've taken, the articles that I write for Ola America. I actually got a couple in the Dispatch this week as well for Invicta, so thank you to Dispatch, and check those out too. Also, we are on Facebook. Join our group page. Just type in Kick and Make Up into the search engine, into the search bar, and it will bring you to our page. Invite yourself in. We let you in. We get you in on the polls. Live coverage we do from cage side, weigh-ins, all that stuff. If you are on Instagram, that's new that you've added for Kick and Make Up too lately, and we definitely got some stuff up there this weekend. Like you said, Twitter at Hybrid MMA is mine. At Kick and Make Up is JD's. So get in on that. Man, is that it? Did we get them all?
Yeah, I think we got everything.
I think so.
I want to give a special thank you again to everybody for coming to our main site, kickandmakeup.com. I don't know if Nick knows about this, but I managed to grab a picture of it yesterday on the screen, but we just jumped over 20,000 views on the Kick and Makeup page, so
nice.
That's pretty awesome. So thank you guys for going to check that out. Had a real nice spike on views over the weekend. Got close to, I want to say, about 3,000 views over the weekend, so that's pretty good.
And that's you guys. And that's you guys as we, blast these shows out, and we're at the shows and we're saying, check us out here. Look at this. This is you guys going to check it out, and this is why we do the show. So awesome that we hit that mark, and we're coming for 30,000 soon.
Oh, real quick, and thank you for everybody for interacting with us. I've had a few YouTube comments, and big shout out to Michelle Waterson for doing an interview with us, and Kat Zingano for doing an interview with us, and
and retweeting.
Yes, and retweeting. That's the big part.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and sending it out to all their fans, and we got a few YouTube comments which are really hard to come by unless you get to a certain level. So it's nice to get that, and we always respond to just about anything that anybody puts out. So keep those coming, keep interacting with us. We love it, and we want to keep doing it.
So this show is broken down into 3 segments: the high kick, the low kick, and that's some bull kick. And if you've seen this, you know what that means. The high kick is the best thing going on right now in MMA. The low kick is the worst thing going on, in our opinion. And that's some bull kick is where we just talk shit about something odd in the news during the week and what we want to, just kind of rant about.
Yep.
So this week's high kick, like I said, obviously goes to Invicta FC 9. Coming to the River Center for the first time, getting outside of their Kansas City home, coming right here to the Quad Cities. awesome card. Everybody else says this is a great card from top to bottom, blah, blah, blah. This really was a great card from top to bottom. You may not have known some of the names on the card going into it, but you definitely do now. We had some huge debuts from some fighters, just to name a few. I'm going to talk about, let's see, Kelly McGill. She came out, and Megan Goodwin kicked the night off. Bloody bloodbath. Her pictures all over the media now, her smiling with Megan's blood all over her.
Right.
Back and forth fight. It was really good to watch and fun to watch. Just a perfect way to kick off the night's fights. Jamie Moyle got a bonus for the night, a performance bonus for her win over Jenny Lou Shriver. We saw Andrea K. Lee beat Shannon Sin. That was awesome. We're gonna know her now as RGB.
KGB.
KGB, excuse me.
But I mean, it's so. That's the one fight that I would probably want to speak on a little bit, not to bash any of the other ones, but which were great too. But just the explosiveness and the power coming from KGB was ridiculous. Like I wasn't expecting that, and to see both of those women come into the cage, and they both look strong, look big, and then to see Lee pretty much dominate the fight, it was a little surprising to me. And a lot of times in MMA you see records, and I saw that she was undefeated, but you just never know. And facing her opponent, who's a strong opponent, I've seen her fight before, but just seeing that and noticing that, okay, well, let's see if she lives up to this record that she has. And man, she did. And I guess I can save my last comment for once we circle around and talk about the event as a whole, but women's MMA is definitely in a good spot right now.
Yeah, and you also see who's going to go to the top faster. And not that we're looking at Invicta as a feeder league for the UFC, but in all reality, it somewhat is. So after seeing the night's fights, I thought to myself, and we talked about it a little bit too, she's going to be in the UFC in a year or two. She's going to, you just know it from their style, from one fight or a couple, seeing them live, as opposed to us watching them before. You can see the ones, and she's definitely going to be one of those.
There's another one too that's coming up, I'm sure that you can talk about.
Another great fight, Amber Brown, Liz McCarthy. That was a split decision. Amber Brown got the win. And that was, I think she even knew, saying in the press conference, like, I did what I needed to do. It was split decision. There was definitely things I needed to work on. But, she came away with the win. Can't argue with that. And just to let you guys know, I have my notes on my phone again this week. So I'm not texting and seeing what's going on. Once again, fully involved in this show. Notes on the phone. We saw Jody Esquivel. That's who I wanted to talk a little bit about. We did an interview. I interviewed Nick Daly before her opponent. She ended up retiring after this fight. But that was, very one-sided. I mean, Jody looked like a machine. A piston. I described her as it looked like a piston. Pistons coming at you with so much explosive energy. And she's somebody that I would love to see fight some higher talent. Not that Nick Daly wasn't supposed to be an awesome brawl fight, but I'd like to see her, jump up quickly, and just to see if that's how she fights all the time. So that was fun. And
especially at that weight level that she's at, just looking at her, I think the piston thing is the perfect, description. She's small, compact. Well, she's not really small. She's not really short, but she's compact, in great, incredible shape. And then just to see it wasn't just the aggressiveness that she showed. It wasn't just, the cardio that she showed, but it was a combination of everything, and throwing, 2-punch, 2-kick combos, and, her combinations were crazy. And, it was something that I wasn't really expecting. And then, we got a chance to talk to Michelle Waterson at the end, and she said that she had been, training with her, and they had been in the same camp. And then you start saying, okay, sense. Now I kind of understand. And then that sort of bodes well for what, Michelle Waterson has coming up too, which, Invicta FC 10 and headlining that show, and knowing that, she's working in a gym with, some of the best. So yeah, definitely some really big things in store for Jodie Esquivel.
Yeah, another huge fight that we enjoyed watching. Paleile defeated Caitlin Young. Was not supposed to win that fight. Caitlin Young had a lot of steam going into this fight. Raquel took that fight on 1 week's notice. And looked as though she was going to just get obliterated in that first round. I mean, that was a decisive first round, and it could have been stopped a few times.
Yes.
It didn't get stopped, and Raquel just took over rounds 2 and 3 decisively, and you know, it was just like, it was amazing to see her come back from that win. And I know you got to ask a couple questions at the press conference too. And,
you know, asked at the press conference, you know, what she was thinking about in her corner, and how she talked about how she was, you know, she just had a game plan and she wanted to stick to her game plan. And I guess that's what you think, regardless of, you know, how much damage you take. And just to see, you know, her face and stuff afterwards, it was amazing that she took so much damage but was able to shake that off and, you know, come back to completely dominate the, you know, the second and the third round. And it was one of those fights though that is hard for, I can see why it's difficult for some people who aren't really close to the sport, don't really watch a lot of the sport, to be able to figure out that, man, this woman who has her face, you know, beaten up, didn't lose the fight. You know, it's kind of weird. And like, even, you know, while we were sitting case out, I looked at him, I'm like, man, yeah. And I was like, who do you think got that one? And he was like, I think Paleile got it. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. You're probably right. Yeah. And, you know, you can get caught up looking at the way, you know, someone's appearance is, and that's in no way indicative of, you know, how she was able to, you know, to come back and relatively dominate the rest of the fight after she took so much damage early on.
And I think that was one of the things that we were talking about during, and a lot of people were tweeting about, was how much blood there was. And the card wasn't good because there was so much blood. The card was good because the fights were good that were producing the blood, that just made it more fun and more visually entertaining. That sounds sick, but whatever. I mean, it just was. So that, like you said too, you can't judge it just based off of that, but you saw a great fight before that, and that's why it made it so good.
Right. And, you know, speaking on the blood stuff too, I mean, it'd be wrong for, you know, me to say that, oh, it doesn't matter, but it kind of does. And, you know, it's just the brutality of the sport, and, you know, seeing that, you know, that these women are, you know, 100% serious about, you know, about what they're doing. They're putting their lives, their livelihood on the line, just like the men do, you know, every week. But, you know, it's kind of, it's good for the sport to see the fights go the way they were, because I know there's sort of a stigma about women's MMA that, you know, sometimes they lack the brutality. Sometimes, you know, you'll have a women's fight and it ends in, you know, you'll have a women's card and it ends with, you know, 8 fights, or you have 8 fights and you got 6 submissions. And a lot of people find that, you know, submission fights are, you know, kind of boring, but this was the exact opposite of that. So much action, you know, from top to bottom in the card.
Yeah, and you'll also have those that argued there was 9 fights, 8 went the distance, 1 finish. I mean, on paper that looks terrible.
It does.
But if you watched it, it was not. So you can never judge a book or a fight by just its credentials. You know, just its list. It's what happened. You have to watch them. So awesome co-main event. Also, another underdog came in, and man, let me clear my throat on the pronunciation of Karolina Kowalskiewicz. Kowalskiewicz something. So, man, I'm gonna try to work harder on that one. She defeated Mizuki Inoue by split decision. She came in as an underdog. We saw Mizuki fight before. We saw her train so fast, but just couldn't put anything together. Just one step off, I think, and that's what we saw a couple times in the night, that some of the losers of the night were just a half a step off of the other person that was fighting them, and that's what got the win, I think. And she was scary start. I will say that when I looked over to you, I looked over to somebody else and said, she's just standing there waiting to fight and not moving, and that's intimidating as hell. And then she came out and put on a performance like that, and then she's awesome. I want to see her fight some more. Even in the press conference, she had the tiniest voice ever, but just came out and put away, you know, one of the top fighters in Japan.
Yeah, I have to I gotta go back and repeat that, what you said about her just standing there. I mean, like, just dead, no expression, nothing, not moving. Like, normally you see, like, if I was in there, I'd be pacing back and forward, so much energy, just ready to go, and nervous. I'm staring down my opponent, looking at him, trying to see if I can get something out of him while I'm, trying to intimidate him. But she just stood there and didn't move, was breathing calm. And then the bell came, and it was like, and that's really cool to see. That kind of makes me want to take that route if I was, to ever fight. Like, just stand there and just look at your opponent, just stand there.
There's a couple people like that. I'm just thinking too of when you want to do that, and if that's you just go in there and you do you, whatever comes out, you're jumping around, you sit down, you relax. You can't really plan for what you do before the fight, but if that's your thing and it works for you, that is way more scarier than somebody pacing around, jumping around, trying to do that route, or just doing that route. Right. If that's their thing, that's their thing. But yeah, the stoic ones always get me. Fedor was another one that did that. Just stood there, and then you're just like, oh my God, what's about to happen? And
then I think about, I can't remember which fight it was, but she was at the weigh-ins hyped. And then she walked down to the cage hyped.
Amanda Bell. Yeah.
Walked down to the cage hyped and, stomping around the cage. And then proceeded to go and get into the fight and just destroy her opponent. Like that. Yeah. Like, that's the total opposite end. She was hyped the entire time and then went in and did
the same
what she was supposed to do. Yeah, same thing.
That's what I looked at you too when their whole team was just screaming and yelling. I'm like, dude, I want to get up there and yell with them. I want to stomp around the cage. It looks fun. So that was the co-main event. Beautiful way to lead into the main event of the night, which was the highlight of the weekend, with Barb Honchak from MFS putting her title on the line against Takai Ohashi. And we expected to see a huge back and forth fight with that one too. A lot of steam coming from Hashi. Once again, one of the better fighters out of Japan, fighting Barb Honchak. And Barb dominated. We talked about that at the end of the fight. She dominated that fight every round, did what she needed to do, and that's what she said. You asked her, what you were, if you were concerned about your fight style, and she had said that her last couple of fights have been pretty striky, but this one she did what she needed to do to neutralize her opponent, keep her up against the cage. She talked about when she apologized to Pat and said, sorry, this is what it is. We had a game plan, but here we are, and that's what happens a lot in fights too. But I think that she did what she needed to do, and it was good to watch her to do that. And she did have an adjusted game plan, I think, of going in there, pushing off the cage, and like you said during the fight, doing what she needed to do for a few spurts here and there, and then just going right back to the grind.
Yep. She would come out, get her shots if she can get them early on. I know she talked about how she felt like her timing was off, and that's understandable if you feel like you're off, and you have to go into it. You want to win. Of course, everybody has a game plan. Of course, you want to go into it and do things the way that you had planned them to go. And fighting doesn't go like that all the time. And that's exactly what happened to her. Just reading Twitter while we were going, there were a lot of people commenting and talking about how, it was boring, it's a horrible main event, blah, blah, blah. And for those people, I say that, yes, it could be boring to you, but you have to be able to appreciate someone who's able to neutralize an opponent like that. I mean, Hashi couldn't get hardly anything off.
No.
And that's a talent in and of itself. That's an ability in and of itself. That's a strength in and of itself, that you're able to completely shut down your opponent. And a lot of times I compare MMA to boxing, but I think about Floyd Mayweather, and it sort of reminds me of him. A lot of people don't like to watch him fight, but that is greatness, to watch somebody whose defense is so good that you can't get anything on them.
Yeah.
And just to see her grind her opponent into a pulp is is very impressive.
And I was going to say, too, I respect the fighters that... I should figure out how I want to say this. I respect the fighters more that don't cater to the fans for an entertaining fight. You fight your fight, and if your fight's entertaining, great. If it's not based on the fans wanting more striking and wanting knockouts and and all these ridiculous combos of, you know, how Diego Sanchez does. He's getting so much criticism now with his fights because he fights that ridiculous style,
Right.
just bloody and crazy, and fans love it. But where's he at? Where's he on the rankings?
Losing.
You know, and where's Barb Honchak at? The top. Where's
Right.
GSP at? You know, before he was injured, the top. And he
Right.
got a lot of complaints about the lay and pray.
Right.
Still leaving with the belt. Sorry that he's not, you know, throwing caution to the wind round one so he can get that huge knockout. And like you said, Floyd Mayweather, these people are at the top
Yes.
for a reason.
Yes.
So
Maybe other fighters should adopt that type of style.
yeah,
Like
I'm going in there, and if I feel like, you know, laying on my opponent the whole third round because I've done well the first and second round and I've got the belt and that's gonna keep my belt, I'll do that. I don't care. I'm in there. You're not.
Right.
You're watching. I'm fighting. I'm
Right.
gonna do what I want. I'm gonna listen to my corner. Like she said, she tried to listen to her corner. Usually she does very well, but her corner is also not in there with her.
Right.
You're in there by yourself. This is not a team sport.
Right.
And you do what you need to do to get the win.
Right.
And that's why
And I mean, like,
love it.
and then too, it shows the level of her greatness. That, you know, she's hearing her corner sort of tell her one thing, and if I'm in there fighting, and my corner's telling me something, I'm gonna try my darndest to do it, probably almost to a fault because I want to do what my coaches tell me to do. It just shows the level of her greatness to say, okay, like, I'm in here doing this, but, you know, I'm sorry. Screw you guys. I gotta win this fight. Like, I gotta do this a different way.
Right.
And that just shows, you know, how great of a fighter she is. And I really hope that, you know, other people appreciate, you know, her level of ability like we do.
Yeah. And we saw that, you know, in the press conference, she's got a couple fights probably coming, I would say, in the spring. Some rematches maybe. She was asked who'd she rather fight, Vanessa Porto or Roxanne Modafferi. She's fought both of them before. Each fight, you know, will have a different outcome, obviously. Each fight's going to be different, but entertaining in its own way. So very curious to see, you know, what she does, what she goes back to improve on. But I think overall, you know, Invicta FC 9 is being talked about as, you know, the card that nobody came out to from the Quad Cities, and that's our fault. That's not the fault of the fighters or Invicta or anything else. You know, you can't judge a card based on the attendance. That's not, you know, I don't feel like that has, you know, really, other than, you know, small time to promote it.
Right.
If you didn't come out to this card and you were in the area, that's your fault, and you missed a great card. You know, a lot of people are saying too, some of these names, we'll know who they are within a few years,
Right.
and we'll get to say that we saw them live in our backyard. And so don't miss out on these Invicta cards. Get Fight Pass. It's $10. We have no investment in Fight Pass at all, obviously, but it's $10 a month. If you didn't get to watch it, you can watch it today, tomorrow, whenever you want. It's worth it. These fights are worth watching. These females are worth watching, and I've got nothing but good things to say about Invicta and everybody else. So thanks for coming to our city, Invicta, and I hope you guys come back soon sometime.
Yeah, if we can actually
step up
come
and
out
right
to support a show.
Yeah, thanks
like
for
that.
coming out. We'll try to do the same next time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like it's really depressing. Like I hate to speak on that, but it's depressing. It's a slap in the face for, you know, someone to put on an incredible show and have those amount of fans, you know, in the audience. Like, it's sad. And then the people in the Quad Cities wonder why we can't get anything that's, you know, high class. Like, we don't get, you know, upper level concerts. We don't get, you know, you will probably never see the UFC come to the Quad Cities because of reasons like this.
Right.
Like, it's just not going to happen. And until we decide that we want to support things, you know, you're not going to get the best. So you can't complain about not having anything and, you know, not being able to have, you know, the big city experience when you're not out supporting the different events that we do have. So
Exactly.
If you're doing that, shut up.
Bam. That's how we're gonna end that. I like that. I like the mode we're going into, because we're gonna keep that low kick tone and just talk about this week's low kick, what we learned at the press conference as well. Which might I say too, God, I love post press conferences.
I do
you
too.
You learn so much information, and you get it right away.
Yep.
Low kick, Cyborg is out of Invicta FC 10. She's injured. She has an ankle injury. It's going to require surgery. She was hadn't fought since July, and now we have to wait July of last year. So now we have to wait probably another 6, 7, 8 months.
12,
I've seen a couple people say maybe even a year for her bantamweight debut, which makes the fight that we're all waiting for, like the biggest fight in women's MMA, Cyborg versus Rousey. We're waiting for that fight, and now we have to wait even longer.
Right.
And it just, that one injury just puts a halt on women's MMA just a little bit. But like the fight we want to see, and that is definitely the low kick, because it's now you just wait again, and I don't know. I mean, obviously women's MMA is flourishing right now. It's it's doing great, but God, can we get that fight? Can we get Cyborg and Rousey, please? I
would love to have that fight. It's the fight that everybody wants to see. There's so much drama behind it, and definitely the way I look at it is after Rousey fights Kat Zingano, and I'm ridiculously excited about that. What's next? You know what I mean? Like, she can't just keep fighting Kat Zingano until Cyborg is ready. You know, like that's sort of the level that Rousey has risen to. That you need a major name. You want to see competition for her. You want her to take on the best of the best. And if there's always this question out there of her not being able to fight this this elite fighter, there's always going to be that one sort of mark on her resume, that one sort of tick on her resume that she isn't going to be able to shake until she actually gets into the cage with her. And I really hope that things align correctly so that we can see that fight, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
And talking to Kat Zingano and seeing what she did her last fight, the best thing that could happen with this to make us not care about Cyborg and Rousey is for Kat to win in February, and for the star power of Rousey just to drop just a bit. You get a rematch with those two probably, depending on the fight, maybe even a third. You'd get Miesha Tate back in the mix a little bit, maybe fighting Kat. Then you'd get some shakeups. But if Rousey keeps winning, we're gonna keep wanting this fight even more.
Right.
So if you can win in February, you will make us not really care as much about Cyborg and Rousey as we do right now. But yeah, injuries happen. It's sad to see, and the ankle ones, obviously, those are huge. And Shannon talked about, just the severity of, you hurt your ankle. Well, you hurt your ankle in a sport where you're fighting and throwing kicks and ankle locks and
standing.
And and standing, right? So you kind of need all your limbs for this sport. And it was a big tear. I don't remember the term.
But she was saying how it could require surgery, but they're gonna go the rest route, which is usually the best route to take if you have that opportunity. A lot of people will rush to judgment, and I was reading this too, and say, why don't you just get the surgery? Why don't you just get the surgery? Like, who wants to go into surgery? No one. No one. And if you can, put it off for a certain amount of time and try to allow your body to heal, I can totally understand going that route. So, I wish her a speedy recovery so that, she can get back in there and start training and, probably get another fight under her belt and, prove that she's still the fighter that everyone, believes she is.
Right, and Invicta FC 10 does a little bit of shining light out of this. Adopt a new great main event. Michelle Waterson is going to put her atomweight title on the line versus Herica. Let me see, I'm going to smash her name too. Let's see. Herica, let me see where. See, this is the problem when you have your little notes like this too. I'll have to go find it a little bit later, but I thought I wrote it down. Apparently not. Herica Tiburcio. Yes. So that's an awesome main event too. Talking to Michelle too, we got a chance to hear about how she's loving having little breaks in fighting. You know, she fights in a month. You know, she just fought last month. She's with Mike Winklejohn, best striking coach in the business. So I'm excited. I'm more excited, I think, for this main event just as a fight than I was for Cyborg. It was fun to see her debut,
right.
But after seeing Waterson fight last fight and seeing Escobar fight this fight, their camp's coming out like killers. And you know, Michelle's fight last time was 5 rounds of nonstop action. You know, everybody was surprised. So I'm excited about this main event, December 5th, Invicta FC 10. Invicta's not wasting any time, man. They're leaving.
And they're moving too. I think they said the show was going to be in Houston. So, you know, I hope that it does well, and I hope that it gets the success that it deserves, because it's a top-notch show, and it's something that you really appreciate live when you go see it, and you know, see the production quality behind it. So I really, you know, am a big fan and hope that they can continue to be as successful, you know, when they travel, as opposed to, you know, just staying in the Kansas City area where they have been for so many years.
Right. All right, this week's That's Some BullKick goes to Brock Lesnar returning to the UFC in 2015. Let's just stop and think about that. Okay. So, Brock Lesnar's 2015 return to the UFC. His contract is over in March for the WWE after WrestleMania. Here's Dana White's quote. He says, I have a great relationship with Brock, which I don't know how true that line is, because I remember it being great. They had problems, yeah. So my great and his great might be different. We talk all the time. I don't know. We'll see. If he wants to fight, he knows my number. It's pretty amazing what he did and accomplished here while having diverticulitis. It would be interesting to see a 100% healthy Brock Lesnar compete. It wasn't that interesting, though, to see 100%. We have seen that. It wasn't very interesting to see 100% Brock Lesnar compete, because he got hit once and he shelled up.
It was over.
He got kicked to the liver by Overeem, and he fell down hard. I don't know. So unless, you know, in the WWE, I can't imagine you learn how to take hits more than you would in actual fighting. Those stomp punches where you stomp the ground and then you get punched, they sound like they're real, but they're not. So I just don't know. And right now, the heavyweight division, it's hurting. Cain Velasquez is injured. You've got Mark Hunt, you know, coming in for the interim heavyweight. You know, you've got some big guys coming in. The heavyweight division's always been all over the place, and I don't think adding Brock Lesnar in the mix is going to help at all, like long term. It may help for a couple cards here and there, and we talked about the financial state of the UFC a couple weeks ago. They're hurting, so I don't think Brock's going to bring in, you know, 30%, which they were down for the year. But I don't know. What do you think, man? What do you think about this?
I think that Brock, you hit on it at the very end, why there would be mutual interest between the two is that, you know, the UFC is a little bit down. The heavyweight division is a little bit down. Part of me would like to see it, but it's only because of the name. If Brock Lesnar was named Cody Burke, I don't know why I said that, because there is a Cody Burke.
There's a Cody Burke. We like you a lot. So
random. Cody Munchausen. How about that? No, is there Cody Munchausen? Okay.
No.
But if that was his name and he was a fighter and he was the same age that Lesnar is, and, you know, fought the same way, had the same history, and then disappeared from the sport for a couple of years and said he was going to come back, we'd be like, okay, moving on.
Right.
Like, it wouldn't mean anything, but because of that name is going to drag some fans over from WWE. It's going to reignite a few fans who otherwise wouldn't buy a pay-per-view without Lesnar on it. So I can understand that. I think it's BullKick because you're not solving the problem with that division. The only way you solve the problem with that division is to cultivate new talent, and you need to have Lesnar, you know, 5 years ago coming into the sport at this point in time.
Right.
Yeah, then you'd be onto something. But just rehashing another old name is sort of the problem, and I always do this, but it's sort of the problem that boxing has, and that you get Evander Holyfield's still fighting, riding off a fight 15 years ago where his ear got bit off. Like, I mean, it's amazing that he's still around, and he's fighting for some unknown no-name belt, and he's the world champion of his block. Like, who cares?
Right.
And the UFC is bigger than that. The UFC is better than that. They shouldn't have to sort of to stoop to the level where they need him. And if Lesnar was a greater fighter, I would understand it. But his last stint was not very impressive.
No.
And I don't have any confidence in him that he's going to be better this go around.
And I'm going to say, too, as far as the safety side of him coming back and doing the weight cutting again,
right?
Extreme weight cutting again, having diverticulitis,
right.
That's straight digestion. That's straight food that you eat and diet. And so coming in and shaking that up again, and I don't feel like you're ever going to be 100% with that. I mean,
right.
And anybody that's got that, write in and tell me more about this. I read about it and dealt with it with a few people in town that I know that have had it, and so they say too it's very hard, and I don't think then they're not fighters, and if they were, that's really dragging your body through the woodworks, man.
Right.
So I just don't think it's safe either, and the people that are really into the fights and want to watch them because they want to watch good fights and not spectacle fights.
Right.
We know what's gonna happen. We know he's gonna get put in there. He's gonna get hit a couple of times, and he's gonna go up against the cage, and it's an easy way. It's not easy to beat him, but his strategy, your strategy to beat him, is pretty much the same as it was 4 years ago. I don't think that's evolved much. So aside from him coming out and having a completely different style, which could happen too. People come and reinvent themselves. That's the only way I could see me getting re-interested is if Brock Lesnar came out and just was like a Muay Thai monster.
Right.
Which I just can't see.
And then you have to think of the long term when you're investing in a fighter, and beyond the fact that we don't expect him to change up his style. You have to put him in there first go around against someone who you would think he could beat. Because Dana White isn't gonna put him in there at the very top of the sport and have him get dogged out, and then that investment is done for him. So you think that he'd have to put him in there against someone who he can beat, and then if he, depending on his showing, if he has a good showing, you move him on and you try to get him into a tougher fight. But if he has a bad showing, you're out of the money.
Yep.
So then, even if he has a good showing, you put him against better competition. It's like you're just rolling that dice with him, and you're rolling the dice with a fighter who's old already. Like you can't invest that time and effort into someone who is at his age and where he's at in the sport or not in the sport. I would. And it's easy for me to say, on the outside, and they probably want that initial, blast of, injection of excitement and money that would come along with him returning to the sport. But, long-term projections, that's not going to work. That's like a football team, going after a over-the-hill quarterback who's 38 and going out of the league. And, you see it so many different times. Or like Jordan when he went to the Wizards, like he was washed up. But it was Jordan, and he sold a lot of tickets and did a lot of good things for the Wizards, but it wasn't the same Jordan that everyone else knew. So is that what they really want? If that's what they want and they want to make a little money, that might be what the idea is behind it.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to get used to seeing some things like this in 2015 for them. What you talked about, not their make or break a year.
Transition year.
But it is a transition year, like you said, for them. It is a year where they're going to have to try some different things, see how they work. This sounds like it's going to be one of them. We'll be there to watch and talk about it and see.
Definitely.
So, but I am giving our BullKick to that because it's just like at this point I don't see what's going to go on with it. But hey, we've been wrong. We've been known to be wrong a few times before, so maybe this is it.
On the rare occasion that we are wrong, we always talk about it.
Once last year, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe half.
Maybe.
Can you be half wrong?
Sometimes.
Okay. All right. So that's our BullKick, and that's our show. that's our show. Bam, over just like that. That went fast. That was a good show.
Yeah.
We've definitely got some stuff to talk about next week. It is, I didn't say it's the beginning, but hey, it's fight week again. Every week's fight week. Every week's fight week.
Yep.
It is fight week again. UFC Fight Night in Sydney is on Friday night. It's got a huge main event for a fight being on Fight Pass. Luke Rockhold is going to take on Michael Bisping. And, man, if you have not seen the shit-talking these guys have been doing back and forth in the videos and just, I mean...
Kind of epic.
one of the better feuds we've seen lately. And so I want to see what happens. I mean, Luke Rockhold, I will say this, too. I'm going to go early and say that if Luke Rockhold gets tested and fails for performance-enhancing drugs, I won't be that surprised. Because that's kind of been the side talk about how big and jacked he is right now, and I mean that's genetics too, but he is looking pretty big, bigger than usual, and so hopefully that doesn't creep its way in. I don't want to give that the bull kick next week or the low kick, but I want to see Bisping. I love watching him fight. Rockhold too, man. They're gonna go in and they're gonna fight with some hate. And that can
it's always a good thing.
Yeah, that can be a good thing and a bad thing, but at the beginning of the fight, it's always good to watch. So that is the main event. Ross Pearson and Iaquinta is on the co-main event, and they both come out. That's going to be a striking war, too. Iaquinta is one of those that his last couple of fights, he's just stepped it up a lot. Has some great finishes, great endings. Ross Pearson's always known to be a big striker. And also on the card, Some Paleile. We saw him fight in Chicago, I believe, to kick off the fight, the Fox card. He's fighting Walt Harris, who sounds like your accountant. But one thing I want to say about this Some Paleile fight, he's 3-1 in his last 4, and 3 of those were knockouts. So the potential of him knocking out his accountant is very high. Walt Harris is not an accountant, but I'm just saying it sounds like it. But anyway, that's for a Fight Pass. That's decent, man.
Yeah.
3 to 4 fights are really good. I'm really looking forward to watching them. I know Clint Hester is on the other Fight Pass main card. He was fun to watch on Tough too. So $10 a month, man. Fight Pass, you can't beat it. I mean, $10. The Bisping and Rockholds were $10 to me by itself. So
I really wish I could watch them live, but I'll be at work, so I'll have to catch the replay. But
me too.
UFC Fight Pass is right there for me.
Right. Yep, and if we had a way to watch them at work too, I'd put them up on TV and stream those bad boys, and well, that's a whole different topic. I know that's the low kick.
Work.
It just went. All right. So before we get into too much of that, we're going to say that's it. That's it for the show. This was the Kick and Make Up Show. Thank you guys for watching. www.kickandmakeup.com is the website. At Kick and Make Up is JD's and the show's Twitter. At Hybrid MMA is mine. Join the Facebook group page. Join the YouTube page. Join the Instagram page. That's it.
I think that's it.
I think we got them all, man. We are covered. We are just...
Oh, we're on Google Plus, too. I don't really mess with Google Plus, but, I mean, we're there.
Yeah.
But one good thing about Google Plus is that it shares all of our YouTube stuff. So if you like us on there, you can like us on there. Basically, if you want to find us, you can find us. So do that.
That about does it. Kick and Make Up Show. American Hybrid Nick Cunningham. Jeremy J.D. Dorsey. Remember, don't solve it in the streets. Take it to the cage and kick and make up. I felt like a robot there. And my arm cracked too at the end. Wow.